Hello, my name is Sydney Cobb, and I'm going to be doing my current event assignment on the Flint water crisis. And then as you can see in the top left corner there is a map of Michigan, and that star represents where Flint is located at. And then in the bottom right-hand corner are some Flint residents protesting the fact that they do not have access to clean water. And the woman's sign says, "Water is a human right." So obviously they're very upset about it. So first of all, some background on the Flint water crisis is that it lasted for about 5 years, from 2014 to 2019, and of course this took place in the town of Flint, Michigan. And so the whole crisis was that the water was contaminated with lead and possibly Legionella bacteria. And as you can see in this photo of the pipes here, they are very unsanitary, very dirty, very rusty, and just very worn out, it looks like. And those pipes do not look safe to be carrying drinking water at all. And then to go along with this, the World Health Organization actually says high blood levels are especially harmful to children and pregnant women and can cause learning disabilities, behavioral problems, and mental retardation. And of course that was a big deal because nobody wants their kid to have to be dealing with health issues or disabilities of any sort, because everybody wants their kids and their family to be healthy. So moving on, I'm going to give you some background information about the Flint water crisis. So to start off, Flint, before they switched over to the Flint River to get their water, they were getting water from the Detroit Water and Sewage Department. And the reason why they switched over to the Flint River was that they were supposedly going to be saving like $200 million over 25 years by switching the water over. So they wanted to be able to save some money. But shortly after they switched over, residents began to complain about the taste of the water and the color of the water, which, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, the bottle that's labeled Detroit is very clear and doesn't look dirty or anyway, it looks filtered. But then on the left there's that the water that's coming from Flint River, and you can obviously see there that the water is dirty, it's cloudy, and it doesn't really look safe to drink. Like, I personally, and probably the majority of people, would choose to drink that water from Detroit over that water from Flint. So before the lead was actually found in the water, E. coli and total coliform bacteria was found. And of course that was very concerning to Flint residents in itself, because these are both bacteria that aren't necessarily safe to be putting into your body and drinking. And then a test was conducted in a home to check for lead in the water, because all of a sudden their child got very sick and was thought to have lead poisoning, and they weren't exactly sure how the lead would be able to get into, or how the lead got into his body and into his system. And they tested the water, and the water had very, very high levels of lead in it. And then after this came out, Brad Werfel, he is a spokesperson for the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. He says, and I quote, "Let me start here. Anyone who's concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint can relax." And then he says, "It does not look like there is any broad problem with the water supply freeing up lead as it goes to homes." So basically saying, like, you guys don't need to worry, even though they were already complaining about the taste and the color of the water. He was basically saying, don't worry about it. It was just in that home that there was that high level of lead. It's not in every home. So he was basically trying to reassure them that there is no lead in the water. It was only found in that home. And then a couple months later, a team from Virginia Tech tests hundreds of homes for lead in Flint, and they found serious levels of lead in the water that was coming from the Flint River. And a team member from Virginia Tech named Dr. Mark Edwards says, "The levels that we have seen in Flint are some of the worst that I have seen in more than 25 years of working in the field," which of course is very, very, very concerning for those Flint residents. Alrighty, moving on to the diversity in Flint. So the white population in Flint is 39.08%, and the Black population in Flint is 54.08%. And the other percentage is made up of other races such as Asians or Hispanics or Middle Eastern or whatever it maybe is, just made up of all those other races as well. And so in that perspective, the viewpoints from each race were able to be spoken on, and they were pretty much all feeling the same about being upset that they didn't have water. And then as you can see in this bottom right hand picture is a picture of women of many races, and they were actually joining together to, I believe this was at a city council meeting, I think, and they were there obviously protesting about the water. Another statistic about Flint is that 38.8% of people in Flint live in poverty, which is a very large percentage, and they it's harder for poor people to get water or like clean water at this time, like because there's rich people who can, drive to go get clean water or afford to like filter the water on their own. But since there's such a large percentage of people in Flint who live in poverty, they can't necessarily afford to be able to drive everywhere to get clean water or to filter the water themselves. And of course, there's different political views. There are both Republicans, Democrats, and other parties like that supported in Flint itself. So the organization response that, or the organization that I would potentially want to be part of in the future, or one that's similar, is the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan. And the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan had been a huge help during the Flint water crisis. Over those 5 years, they donated 25 million bottles of water to families and Flint residents, and they also donated 1.5 million pounds of lead mitigating food, meaning that the food was supposed to like help take the lead out of the body. And they also provided kids with free meals even throughout the summer because of this, like normally they just get food from their school for free, but they even provided food over the summertime as well for them. So my response to this would be, I would immediately get new water pipes, and although that would cost a lot of money, if it saves tons of lives, it's worth it. I would do orthophosphate treatment, which is the treatment to clean out the pipe, to make sure the pipes stay clean and to make sure they won't get contaminated with lead or rust or anything like that. And then I would do what the food bank was doing, and I'd give out water bottles and water gallons, and I would like to give out food as well. And then, of course, I'd want to keep the community in the loop and make sure that they know that everything is going to be okay and they're going to be safe and that we are working on that crisis right away. So, to be able to get the word out to the community, I would say to have the city of Flint host a public event and air on TV, potentially the governor of Michigan or the mayor of Flint to give a speech about how they're going to go about fixing this problem and what decisions are going to be next. And of course, keep the community in the know of what future actions will take place. And then my public statement would be about donating packs of waters and donating meals, of course, because lots of meals use water and boiling water and hot water and all that. So I would make sure that everybody knows that they will be getting waters and they will be getting meals and until this water crisis is fixed. And then here are my sources. Thank you for listening.